Well, into our 8 o'clock hour, it's still Morning at NTV, and this wonderful Thursday we get to look at youth's representation as far as politics in the Uganda spectrum is concerned, and understanding the political perceptions of what is currently happening, relating the past to the present in order to shape the future that is. Now, many people, of course, believe that youth leaders are for tomorrow. However, the reality is that they are leaders of today, and it's unique experiences and different origins that will help shape their political attitudes. Therefore, it's imperative that they learn more about politics, get involved in the energies of positive change, and become vanguards of the promotion as well as the protection of democracy. Of course, according to the United Nations Youth, you do have the youth folk are up to 1/5 of the population of our world, and the facts show that a younger generational engagement is needful for greater democracy and governance, and we shall dive deeper into these consequences that are birthed when you do not attend to this particular demography as far as young people are concerned. Now, I do have youth that are joining me for this conversation. Some are debating if they're youth because we've had a debate of who's a youth and perhaps maybe that will be in their introductions. They'll be describing to us who is a youth. Starting from my extreme left, we do have Mr. Moses Lukanga Musanje, and he's the National Unity Platform chairperson with Njeru Municipality. You're most welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I am Moses Lukanga, and I'm the chairman of the National Unity Platform, Njeru Municipality, and I'm the chairman of People Power Buikwe District. I'm glad to be on this platform. Must admit it is my first time, but I'm an ardent follower of this show, and for today I'm glad to be part of the panel.
It's good to have you on this side. Who's a youth according to you?
According to me, I think a youth is one between the age of 15 and 30, something like that. I would think so.
Okay.
So one of the reasons they say Uganda has the youngest population with the youth, they rank it between 15 and 30 years. So globally, Uganda has the youngest population of youths below 30 years. So I think, in my perception, a youth is one between, maybe it depends on whoever is, but I think between 15 and 30, something like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take another voice in that regard and perspective and find out from Regina Grace Akullo, who is the Learning and Impact Coordinator, and that is a global platform with ActionAid. Grace, you're most welcome to the program.
Thank you.
In your introductory, who's the youth?
Thank you very much. My name is Grace Regina Akullo. I'm the Learning and Impact Coordinator at ActionAid International Uganda. I'm going with a standard definition of what a youth is. To me, a youth is a young person between the ages of 18 to 35. Yeah.
Okay. 15 to 30?
I mean 18 to 35.
18 to 35.
Yes.
Okay, all right. See, maybe Macxzzon Muhwezi will help us balance out between 15 to 30, 18 to 35. But of course, he's with the NRM Youth League, and we're glad to have you once again on the program.
Thank you, Priscilla. Good morning, Uganda and the viewers. I'm happy once again to have the opportunity to be hosted here. Yeah.
And who's a youth according to you?
So many perspectives. You have the Ugandan perspective, the African perspective, and also the UN perspective. But generally, when you look at the young people at the age of 12, are already making contributions to society. So in my view, complacing the three views of UN, Africa, AU, and the Ugandan context. A young person should be between 12 and 35. At least you're in the youthful age, and you can hugely impact society.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So those are the perspectives. If you fall within that spectrum, so now it's stretched from 12 to 35. Anything above that, please, you are in the middle income status. Okay, let's bring it back to the political landscape, which is the backbone of our discussion this morning. Do you believe that young people have actually been actively involved in and engaged in participating in policy as well as decision-making strategies geared towards developing of Uganda. Let me start with Mr. Lukanga.
Thank you so much. In my view, if you take the biblical definition of a youth, it is, they consider the youth someone who is strong enough to do strong labor, strong work, irrespective of how old you are. The moment they recognize that you are no longer in the category of performing hardcore labor, hardcore work with all your strength, you aren't considered a youth by them. So if you consider today in Uganda, chances are limited that the youth are encompassed. They are involved in the decision making of their country and the things that are going to matter in their lives. See, you can't know how the youth have been involved if you don't know the political landscape of the country. What shapes tomorrow, what shapes the future is the decisions that are made politically on behalf of the mothers, the children, fathers, young and old. So if you don't come up with a general perception, a general acceptance that they should participate in the politics of the country, politically, I mean, there must be a political will for the youths to involve in politics, in policies and politics of their country. So if you look at the demography of Uganda, politically, it is hard to accept that the youth have been given a leeway to participate in the policies of the country. We might have ministries, we might have whatever agencies they are, but they are there in name, but in actual sense, the youth and the voice of the youth is not being heard. If you take an example in 2020, when Facebook was shut down, Facebook is a platform through which the youth can express their views and opinions. Now, instead of the government, instead of whoever is holding the power and the will to let them express their views, had to shut down Facebook. There is someone on TikTok who is moving around trying to say TikTok is bad for the youth, TikTok is bad for the youth. But what do they have to do? We are here today, 4 of us. Not every youth out there can access this platform to express their views. I'm not saying whatever they do on TikTok is okay, but it is an avenue through which they can express their views, right? So that being said, the youth, through education, they can attain the highest level of how to deliberate, how to express their issues before the public. Now, between 2014 and 2020, 2021, 2022, the number of youths that are being given or granted university scholarships is dwindling. For example, in 2014, the 1,260 that were benefiting from the high education school fees, student school fees finance board. But as of today, 2023, that board has shut down. It is saying there is no funding for the youths. Now, the youths mean when you want to affect the youth, you make the decision now. You won't wait for them to be, 30 years down the road to affect their future. Okay. Their future is affected today. Now, until there is a total political will, I'm only saying that it shouldn't be in quasi name. It shouldn't be a quasi that there are principles that support the youth. It shouldn't be like that. There should be a will, and there should be certainty, and actually, the true realization should be in the actual giving power to the youth to affect the political decisions in their country.
When you speak of giving power to the youth, and Grace, I know that you have had as deep engagement with young people. Do you feel that that's the voice of young people? Is that the reality on ground when it comes to their participation and involvement in policy and decision making of strategies to their country?
Thank you very much. Picking from your question, I would say partially yes and partially no. Of course, we need to start from the point of appreciating that the state and us as civil society organizations have recognized the power and influence that young people have to influence policy policy processes to develop this country, which is true. However, my partially no is backed up by the fact that we have very low representation of young people in influential positions of leadership. I want to take directly the statistics of Parliament of Uganda right now. You realize that just 3.8% of the representation of Parliament constitutes young people. And when I say young people, these are people between the ages of 21 to 30. But also when you look at between 31 to 40, it's just 24%, meaning almost half of the population of representatives of Parliament are made of people out of the youth bracket. And so that makes it very difficult for me to say yes, totally or fully, that young people are really being representing their interests, or their interests are fully represented. Therefore, on the issue of power, of course, power is something that all of us understand that if you have the power, you can influence. And power comes with many statuses, such as positions, economic statuses, education statuses. And if you look at the composition of young people, much as they are taking a greater percentage of the population of the world, and in Uganda in particular, you realize that the number of young people in the employment sector, in the business sector, in Parliament of Uganda, just like I have just stated, even in the cultural institutions, religious institutions, young people are very few.
Okay,
and
so your argument is based on the fact that there could be some, but it's limited because
very limited
of the numbers. Well, we do have a youth national leader here representing, I believe, quite a number of young people in the country. And Mr. Muhwezi, as you give us your perspective on policy and decision-making strategies, young people being actively involved, you've been actively involved in this, so maybe you have a different school of thought. But also, as you give us your perspective to this, discourse, there's another question that raises from what they have submitted. I know that government has really tried to ensure that they empower the young people. They've come up with youth livelihood programs. As of today in the Daily Monitor, we do have a story that has come out that much as government is trying to do something for the young people, they are not seemingly appreciative to respond back. Of course, with livelihood programs that have to pay back money, and so they are failing to pay back that money. So how do they expect the government to continuously support them if they're failing on the bare minimum that government is trying to service them with?
Okay, thank you very much. I have listened to my brother Moses. You see, this country has been led by different groups since 1300 AD by the Muhwezi, and those groups plus the chiefdoms, the kingdoms, then the recent regimes and presidents until 1986, when this government started understanding the magnitude and contribution of young people to society. And for the first time, like my sister said here, we see a structure of NYC, National Youth Council, that is at the political side. We see the Uganda National Students Association, that is at the student level. And we also see for the first time members of parliament. You see, we have seen quite a number of countries come here to Uganda to benchmark and admire the structural program of young people in Uganda, and how a country like Uganda can embrace the leadership of young people, but also accept their input in terms of policy formulation, analysis, and also a contribution to leadership. It is only in Uganda where you have the leadership of the young people represented from the cell, the smallest unit of our society. The cell, then you come to the parish, you come to the sub-county, you come to the district and the constituency, then at the national level. But like she said, it is not enough. However, I would like to also hear the contribution of the NUP in structuring and organization, and also the alternative policy of the NUP. Other than saying, you see, this has failed, I expected him to say, for instance, in the NUP, we have this particular organization, all the young people are organizing this, and the government should copy or paste. You get, but it seems they also don't have their own following what they NRM. So it is not about participation also, Priscilla and the viewers. The young people, yes, they are in these structures, but what is their meaningful participation? As, for instance, as we celebrate the Youth Day tomorrow at Kabare, what can the young people appreciate in terms of contributing to this society? The social dimension, the political dimension, we have seen very young people come up and take over leadership positions where there is power vacuum.
Okay.
And in terms of competition, we have seen young people contribute to the security of this country. We have seen young people. Hold on a bit.
As you come in, because
yes,
I
let me finish the point.
Your views
let me finish the point.
The youth livelihood programs.
Exactly,
and their impact
I'm coming to it.
Yeah.
I'm coming to it. We have seen young people influence the social affairs of this country. We have seen the young people in the administrative aspect of this country. That is something we can appreciate. But still, like you have said, Uganda is a developing country. And I have always talked about the issue of supervision being so much intentional and deliberate when it comes to the programs of young people that are supposed to enhance their lives and also their livelihood. You get what I'm saying? When you talk of the youth fund, the youth level program, most of the challenges were emanating and budding from the question of supervision. Yes, you have unleashed this program, a giant program that contributes so much in terms of impacting the young people. But then at the other side, you have problems in terms of supervision. Okay. We have had very, very, very huge issue when it comes to supervision of these programs. But I've been following the statistics.
We need to streamline.
Yes, I've been following the statistics of the performance of PDM. Let me finish. Just let me finish. You gave him time. You gave him 10 minutes.
No, you have more time. Let's come back to youth participation. In regards,
if I may interject on what
you can't. Before you do, we were talking about youth participation. One of the opportunities of participation in politics, of course, is when we do have the elective season coming through, and young people going to the polls to make their decision. In most recent years, we've seen a twist in that activity. It's been commercialized. It's an exchange that happens. A kilo of sugar for a vote, some 5,000 shillings for a vote. And so if young people have entered into that kind of trend, it begs the future of meaningful politics, meaningful engagements when the time comes for them to be in positions of leaders, because rightly they're already leaders. Let me start with you, Grace.
Yes, from that point.
Moses was ready.
I was more ready than Moses.
She's the moderator at the end of the day.
Yes, thank you very much, colleagues. Yes, just like Albert has always told us in his quote, that the led must not be compelled, to choose who should lead them, but rather should be given opportunity to identify leaders whom they want to lead them. It is important at this point for us to realize and also to appreciate that, yes, we've had the opportunity to elect our leaders, but to what extent has it been free and fair? Have we been coerced? Have we been compelled? Have we been, deceived in quotes, or lured or to do otherwise or not? Now, in respect to what we are talking about, commercialization of politics, it is real, not only in Uganda, but nationwide. And you realize that, yes, this commercialization of politics in the world or in Uganda has made it quite difficult for young people to take on positions of leadership. And if you look at many young people who have gotten to aspire as leaders, they've been relegated into comic corners. I want to give you the latest example in the recent concluded election. You remember we had a young person who contested to be the president of this country. And right now, actually 2 days ago, I was asking someone, where is he? And they told me, you know, the guy is very popular, is being used, you know, is supporting many companies, you know, to brand them. You know, it is now like somebody, Oye, you know, like Regina Oye. So the intentions or the motives, the ideologies that young people have to present on table as leaders has actually seized, you know, has been turned around, has been reshaped into a comic kind of thing other than leadership. The aspect, getting back, you realize that yes, the conditions that have been attached for one to become a leader. I personally aspired at one time to become a leader when I was a youth, and it was quite expensive for me. Nomination fee is 3 million shillings. And you know, somebody who is a young person, unemployed, given the high rates of unemployment among young people, they don't have that. They have very limited livelihood options that they can, you know, turn to. They have very limited information and mentors or people who can inspire them to take leadership positions in this country. So it is for me a trap, you know, or something that has been put to buy young people to get into influential leadership positions. And yes, the idea or the passion and the perception that we have, or the people or the community have towards people who go into leadership position has actually also turned from them taking them to the promised land or influencing decisions or policies in their favor into what do I benefit as an individual if I elect so and so. And for that matter, people want to benefit from the leaders even before they get into the leadership
from
positions.
what you have said, Mr. Lukanga, when we look at recently, you did have, you know, political parties meeting under one roof to have an assessment of the electoral process and how fair it is, especially for the young people. And there's some reformation recommendations that came through. Of course, they then refused to table it before Parliament. But from your perspective, what do you believe needs to be altered presently so that it can secure the future of meaningful youth participation in politics?
Thank you so much. I believe that unless we change the political will of plot number 1 in Nakasero, whoever sits in plot number 1 in Nakasero has the political will that affects the whole country. Now, unless that changes, nothing is going to happen. Why? If you disenfranchise the youth, and they are disenfranchised in very many aspects, through very many aspects. Now, if you know, like she has said, the youth, when you go for elections, they are demanded, if you want to stand for chairmanship, a certain amount of money. If you want to come to the positions that really influence the politics of the country, the wave, the direction a youth's life is going to take, you're charged 3 million shillings to stand for MP. So you are disenfranchising the youth. Someone between 18 and and 30, chances are so high that he hasn't yet come up with 3 million shillings. Now this has to be put into context. The money has to be reduced. When we went for those elections of 2021, I must say it was the most brutal election in the history of Uganda, where close to 120 people died. That is one way or another disenfranchising the youth. You're threatening them. You're telling them that this is a no-go zone, and yet they must influence their life through the politics of the country unless they participate into the politics. Stand and be voted. If you aren't, you're not plugged into the decision making. Now, whatever celebrations are there, they are a mockery. They are quasi, just to show that there is youth participation, but in actual sense, there is none.
So what should we do? Or what should be done?
What should be done, in my view, Uganda should settle the political question. And when I talk of the political question, I mean how power shifts from one president to another. That is the biggest test Uganda will ever face. Through that test, passing that test, countries have passed it. Kenya's passed it, South Africa's passed it, and in one way or another, they are better than Uganda. And
there'll be a ripple effect to that.
The rest,
okay.
Or the rest of,
all right,
you haven't let me talk about the private sector. Why would I talk about the private sector? The way Uganda has neglected, the way this government has neglected the private sector, you're denying the youths a chance to participate in the private sector. In Uganda today, they are the politicians that are the richest in the country.
Okay.
A country that develops and needs to develop, that needs to look after its youth, has to empower the private sector. It is through the private sector that the youth are going to come up and participate in the economy of the country. You know, you can't be economically independent if you have no money. So in one way or another, to fight the youth, to deter them from participation in the politics of the country, you need to come up with policies that empower the private sector. It is through this that the youth are going to have money. You know, you can't have...
So, employment opportunities, I'll give you the closing on this one. We do have unemployment that is very high for us in Uganda, yet our population is largely a youthful population. So what does that translate into the future of this country if that status is not attended to? And I also want you to speak into the fact that perhaps we are having gaps in voter education in as far as youth are concerned, to attract them to have meaningful participation in their political trajectories.
Yeah, on that very one, like I said, all of us here seem to forget that Uganda is a developing country. And every day, every year, there is something that is added. When you look at the quality of elections we have had, for instance, since 1996, at least you can say there are some positive points one can take in terms of voter registration, but also education, the civic education. I am the national chairman of the Interparty Youth Platform. It is a forum of all youth leagues of 10 major political parties in the country. And we have always advocated for one, like she said, since the young people do not have enough financial capacity, please do not let them compete with the majority that have been in service, that have been employed, that have been getting money. But also, like I said, the gentleman is saying that Ugandans must settle the political question. NUP has got 57 members of parliament, and they were voted for by Ugandans. Every 5 years, NUP takes the message to Ugandans and say, please, this is what we think can settle the political questions. Okay. And Ugandans have a right to choose or not. So the political question of Uganda is only settled by the constitution and only settled after every 5 years. Therefore, if one is very, 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 very unhappy with what is going on, especially at Nakasero Plot 1, like he said, then you go to Ugandans and explain to them, they understand you, and they give you the support, and you change that question. Also, on saying that Uganda has, the government has denied young people to, participation in the private sector. That's why there's introduction of programs like parish development model. 35% is going to young people. Maybe if you don't know, we can only discuss the nitty-gritties of that particular program, but I can tell you, if you have statistics on your fingertips, it has impacted very, very young people, maybe not in Njeru, maybe not in, but I can tell you, so at a wider perspective.
Closing remarks.
At a wider perspective, you know, you were saying that the richest politician, I mean the richest person here in Uganda, people are, no, but we have Sudiru Pereira is the richest East African, is not a politician.
He has political friends.
So
anyway,
the point I'm concluding with is that all of us here have a duty, regardless of the colors. We have a duty to support the young people to be where we're supposed to
to be.
You
All
have.
right. Let me first pause it there. This is definitely meaningful youth participation. These views are very important to help us understand exactly what is on the grassroots as far as young people participation is concerned, because again, where we started from, the reality is that they are the leaders of today, and that leadership is shaped today, not tomorrow. It doesn't wait for tomorrow. We're going to be taking a short breather. We do continue on with Morning at NTV after that.